Hello, welcome back to one of our MonitorBase Rockstar retention videos. I'm Lily Staniforth, VP of Business Relations here at MonitorBase.
I'm William LeBaron.
And I'm Louis Zitting, founder, CEO.
And today we're here with Dana Ventura. It's a special guest we're bringing on today.
A lot of our customers are really focused on the retail side. And one of the reasons we have Dana is because of his experience in the direct consumer space, because a lot of what we're seeing mortgage companies trying to adapt to, they would be served by some of the skills and the knowledge that is gained in that direct consumer space. As a company, we work in both areas. And so we felt like Dana had some really interesting and useful information and tactics and techniques to share because of that experience that a lot of our users, in fact, probably 95% of our users don't have that same exposure. So that's the reason we brought Dana on. We're excited for what he can contribute. And even though he is not in that retail space like a lot of our loan officers are, I think they're in the mortgage industry. They're doing a lot of the same stuff. And there's so much we can learn that will improve us, improve our skills, and help us operate in the space that we're in because, it's a really challenging market.
In fact, Dana, we'd love to hear a little more about your background in the industry and where you came from.
Sure. So my first job while I was in high school was actually as a telemarketer part-time in the evenings, and I did police donations for the PBA, our local New Jersey here. I did really, really well and was promoted to doing mortgage applications pretty quickly. And by the time I was 18, I was recruited to be a loan officer at one of our clients. So from there, my career expanded, obviously. I did work quite a bit in retail as well as consumer direct. So that makes me a kind of a unique bird, having the call center background, plus knowing and having the exposure to the retail folks and understanding referral partners and realtors and builder relationships and how to kind of work with those people on a daily basis.
So one of the things I think you and I discussed early on when we met, I don't know, it's been almost 2 years now, but as you've evolved, what you said was you've been trying to address what you viewed as one of the primary weaknesses in the mortgage industry, the lost art of communication, this gap that we have in really maintaining personal, close relationships with our customers, with our relationships. Technology is this pendulum, and in a lot of ways, it feels like the pendulum has swung too far into the realm of automation, depersonalized, outsourcing, and you're trying to come in and help address that. And to me, what I guess I want to ask, what does that mean to you? That lost art of communication, that lost art of communication. But what does that mean to you when you say that?
For me, I feel like everyone's become so dependent on tech. Their CRM does the email drops. They're using their text messaging, anything to avoid a conversation, it feels like in some cases. And in my experience, some of the most successful people that I work with are the ones that aren't afraid to make those simple phone calls. And it's not about how complex the call is. A lot of times it's just a simple saying hello to your past client. Hey, how you doing? Just checking in, seeing how things are going and seeing where that conversation takes you. A lot of times, especially if they're using a service like yours, that conversation will go to something because they are calling on an alert. They just don't identify that when they first have that initial hit, right? So they're saying, hey, it's Dana, I'm just checking in. How are things? What's going on? And then you'll find out what's going on in their lives. A nice little trick that I've learned and seen work really, really well is letting them know, hey, I only have 5 minutes. I wanted to just touch base real quick before my next appointment. I thought of you. I wanted to see how you're doing. Little things like that. You'll be very surprised at how fruitful those calls can be. And quite frankly, how meaningful it is to that particular consumer. And in the example of a credit inquiry, they're being called by so many folks that are just saying, I can do better. I can get you a better rate. I can better terms. And you're just called to check in. You don't even have to let on that you knew about the credit inquiry. Let the conversation take you there. And again, you'll be super surprised at how well that goes.
Yeah. And I like how you call it a lost art of communication, because like you said, everybody wants to automate an email. And I think you should, but that should only be one of the touch points, right? There's still the human connection changes all kinds of neurons in our brain to connect with that person way more than an email. Video is great too. But yeah, I would love if our users had a simpler way to engage with their alerts, because I know it's difficult to sit down at your desk, pull up MonitorBase, look at each alert, drill into them, make a phone call. To get that as a daily habit, we want to help provide tools that's going to make that simpler. And so that's, I think, Dana, you had a tool that you guys are putting together that you were talking about that helps simplify that, so you don't necessarily have to be sitting at your desk, logging in. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, especially in retail, things can go awry very quickly. You have to put a fire out, you have to run to a closing, you have something going on. And you may even designate time on your calendar for callbacks or follow-ups. It doesn't always work that way. So that was one of the things we identified in all the calls and all the people we work with is, how can we simplify this? That if you're waiting online at Dunkin' Donuts to get a coffee, what can you do? Can you make a call? Where you're waiting online at the pharmacy, whatever you're doing. So we've designed a very simple user interface in an app for your phone where those calls can just be teed up. And an example of using your service, when a credit trigger occurs or a home listing occurs or a predictive model that you guys do occurs, it'll pop into their phone and just be there as a notification to call that consumer with just enough information to know why they're calling. The really cool part is you do it in your time. Again, whenever you have the opportunity, after you make the call, there's a record button and you can record a couple sentences of what transpired on the call and it automatically gets emailed to you so you can deal with it later. Or your processor can deal with it later. But it goes right to your email with a quick breakdown. We use an AI technology-based system so that it really kind of simplifies what you say. So even if you do a lot of ums and ands, it takes all that out. It cleans it up for you. So it's super neat. You can post that right into your CRM. You can paste it into your LOS, whatever system that you want to have in record that you had that conversation. It can be about rate extensions. It can be about follow-ups. It can be about any number of things. But again, the idea was you can't always just be at that desk and on your headset, it's quiet and perfect. That's not always the ideal time. Sometimes you just got to make use of the available time slots you have. And we actually did a study about how much lost time we have in between waiting for someone to join a call. Our other call ended a little bit early. Our closing got out. What can we do on the road going back to the office? And instead of having a scratch pad, which so many people do, and they just draw lines through their tasks, this was designed just to take that away and really simplify the process with a really super easy user interface.
You mentioned the study. I'm kind of curious on what you guys saw on that, that lost time. That found time is what we're looking for.
Yeah, it adds up to hours and hours and hours. We did it internally, and then we got a group of realtors and loan officers to actually help do it and document their day for us. And they were really surprised too when they actually took a second and looked at, because they dialed, I had to do here, I had to drive for an hour here, I had to wait online at the pharmacy for 20 minutes, I had to do all these little pieces of time added up to so many hours per week that if they had a simple app just like this is why we designed it, they could get all that time back and utilize it just to touch base with their past clients, to follow up on the trigger events, whatever that they needed to do, it's there. It's just a matter of having a simple tool to do it. And that's what we designed.
That's why I was, super interested to bring Dana on. Is we've been really pushing to our users in our coaching calls and whatever, just keep it super simple. If you just do the outreach, you're just trying to insert yourselves into their lives at the time when they're likely to be in the market or are in the market. And so, what can you do to eliminate the steps that it takes for you to just do that action each day? One, keep it simple. Two, have a tool that it's really easy to make a couple calls while you're sitting in an appointment. So yeah, I love the tool. I'd love to get some users using this and get their feedback on, how much easier is it for you to make engagement with each of your alerts, or even maybe a branch manager saying yeah, my loan officers were making this many calls, now they're making this many calls. We'd love to see those kind of stats.
I think it addresses what ended up being two of the core blocks from loan officers taking the action that they should be taking when it comes to their past relationships. One of those is, I don't know what to say. Okay. Whether it's calling on a credit trigger or a predictive alert or any of the alerts, oftentimes loan officers look at it and they're like, oh, I know Dana had his credit pulled for a mortgage, but I don't know what to say when I call him because I don't want to say I've been watching you. And so I like how you addressed it as far as keeping it simple, and it's a check-in, and that works. And a lot of people, I think, don't believe us when we say, hey, it really is that simple. But then besides that, we've all got these split responsibilities. I'm not able to be at my desk all day, every day. Well, I'm able to do that a little bit more now than I was when I was a loan officer. And when you are pulled those different directions, I mean, an hour of outreach a day would, I would say, would change a lot of these loan officers' pipelines dramatically, especially if they had the right set of opportunities teed up for that outreach. You know, if I have a meeting cancel and I have an extra 45 minutes, that's fantastic. Now, if I'm going to put that to the most productive use of time, that's the question, right? So I'll block out my calendar. You know, I'm going to make some calls to my past customers at this time, this date. But then when there's a fire on a file, or I had a realtor texting me that morning, that time gets consumed. And being able to, you know, if you're like me and you don't always honor those blocks that you put in your calendar for a specific task, being able to refine that time in other places, I think, is a really useful strategy. And putting that all in one place that's super easy is going to make a difference.
You know, I had a similar experience. I was at LO forever ago. And, you know, that whole point of blocking off time, you can have all the intentions of calling through those 10 people that you need to follow up with. But once you get on a call with one that's interested in talking and moving forward, you guys know that can take an hour. That might be the long conversation. You end up taking a nap. And then now you have an appointment that took up the time that you were supposed to call, or you wanted to call those other 9, right? So like follow-up is not a simple linear path. It's like you follow up and then you get busy, and you go back and you follow up and then you get busy. So I think I love the idea of that tool just to help with that.
Yeah. And to get you in the mindset of it, set the bar low. You know, don't say I'm going to make 50 calls this week. Make 2 a day. You can make 2 calls a day. You can find the time for that. And like I said, when you look in at where you're spending your day, you'll see that you can do that without a problem. And before you know it, you'll be making 5 calls a day. You'll start to get comfortable with it, building that new habit of reaching out to your past clients. They trust you. They have their number stored, your number stored in their phone. So when you call, the opportunity for them to pick up is much greater than when someone else is calling. That's wonderful too. But it also means if they can't pick up now, they know you, they'll call you back. You have a much higher opportunity for them to call you back. And for me, if you couple a call and then you get a voicemail with a quick text, hey, it's Dana, I just wanted to check in with you, see how you were doing. Give me a ring when you have a minute. Like, that's it. That increases your probability of that call back that much more, because you just took another 2 seconds and sent a text too. So just thinking through those little steps and keeping it simple, that's the way to go.
Thank you so much, Dana, for joining us today. All of these insights are really insightful, and they're going to make a huge impact with just those little extra 5 minutes you have a day in those waiting periods. I can't emphasize the difference that's going to make enough. So if you'd like to download this app, it's completely free. It's powered by Bubba Boom, and we're including the link to that app below. So be sure to click on that app and explore this amazing opportunity that's free to you.